What's up, guys? Classy Metal here. Collection update. Good old-fashioned collection update. Most of this stuff is going to be death metal. There's a little bit of black metal sprinkled in, and I think one thing in this entire collection update is not going to be either death metal or black metal. So, just giving you a heads up there. Some of you will enjoy that, some of you won't, but that's what we've got for you today. I've got a fairly decent size order from Life After Death. I'll show that last, and some things from just kind of all over. The first thing that I picked up was the latest full length from the band Summoner Circle. This is entitled Chaos Vector. This is a blackened. It's a progressive blackened death doom band out of Knoxville, Tennessee. If that's not enough genres to kind of throw your way there. Um, this particular album is like a concept album, a themed album off of Cthulhu, and it works pretty well. I did enjoy this. I like the kind of doomy esque aspects that this band brings to the table. Uh, Very blackened, it's kind of like a melodic black metal, just kind of fused in with doom death at times, and I don't know, it just seems to work. I do dig this. They're actually headlining a festival that's coming pretty close to me in October, so I'm excited about going to that. It's Tennessee Metal Devastation Fest, something along those lines. But anyway, it's coming to, I think, Clarksville, no, Lexington, Tennessee, which is in the middle of nowhere. So it was kind of crazy to me that an actual metal festival is coming there in October. So I'm looking forward to going. I know the um, podcast slash YouTube channel Metalomania is going to be there. John from Morgue is going to be at the fest as well. I plan on going. So if you're going and you haven't checked that out, I'm going to link up Summoner Circle in the description, but I'll also link up the link to that festival. So if it's something that you might want to go to, but pretty cool that something like that is coming around here because we don't usually get things like that around here. Next up, this is a Bandcamp purchase from the band on Bandcamp. This is the reissue of Chainsaw Dismemberment by Mortician. I've been waiting patiently for a reissue of this. The OG presses, the original presses, were going for astronomical amounts on Discogs and eBay, and I just wasn't going to pay that for it. Kind of a little thin, kind of cheap digipack, but regardless, I'm still glad to have it on a physical format without paying the absurd price tag that I would have had to pay for the jewel case version. And they also threw in a little Mortician sticker, so that was pretty cool. I have a random beard hair, just sticking way out, so if the light hits it and it becomes distracting, I apologize, but I keep seeing it out of my peripheral vision. Next up, an album that I'm ashamed that it took me this long to pick up. I've needed this in my collection for 16 years now, 17 years now that this has been out. This is Bolt Thrower with Those Once Loyal. Probably my favorite Bolt Thrower release. It was kind of like their comeback album. Killer death metal out of the UK. I mean, you guys know Bolt Thrower. I don't have to explain Bolt Thrower to you. A lot of bands, it kind of goes through waves. It feels like, as far as influence goes on newer bands coming out, you have waves of the older bands that those bands kind of emulate and take things from. And there's been a ton of Bolt Thrower clones as of late, and there's just some heavy Bolt Thrower worship going on in a lot of projects, and I'm okay with that because I mean Bolt Thrower is one of the more influential death metal bands that there's ever been. So it's kind of neat to see uh, their popularity kind of regaining and picking up steam now, as I guess as much as it was back then. Those of you that follow me on Instagram and maybe on this channel, I mean, you may already know this channel, that I've been slowly chipping away at the Vader discography. There's so many albums in their discography and EPs, and some of the stuff gets a little pricey. I found this one. I think I got this one on Discogs. This is the Kingdom EP. This came out in 1998 on Pavement Records. As you can see, whoever had this in their store had 1998 on the back, so that helped me out a little bit for not having to look up the year for this. This came out between just before the Litany, which Litany is like one of the Vader's God tier albums. That's definitely one of my favorites. I go back and forth with what my favorite releases are from Vader, but Litany is always one that is just right up there. Um, in that conversation. Kingdom came out in '98. Litany came out in 2000. I remember seeing Vader in 2000. It was either 2000 or 2001. So a lot of this stuff was still really fresh, and I wasn't super into the more extreme realms of metal at that point. And Vader kind of scared me a little bit when I first saw him. I think I rolled up to the on the way to the concert listening to like Dope, Felons and Revolutionaries, and then to hear something like this was just absolutely terrifying. I saw them and some other bands. I know Origin was there and Impaled, and I didn't know what to take. Now looking back, I can respect how great of a lineup that was. Back then, I was absolutely terrified, but also fell in love with them, if that makes any sense. And it's just one of those bands now that I want everything that they put out, and I'm getting there. I have a ton of their releases in my collection now, so slowly getting there. Next up, we have Malignancy with Eugenics. Pretty killer stuff here from Malignancy. This is kind of when their style shifted a little bit. Still that technical, brutal death metal. This one, they started shifting to a little bit longer tracks, not just completely over technical. I mean, the technicality is definitely still there. One thing for me on this that stands out on the Eugenics albums is that Danny Nelson's vocals on this are just absolutely insane. It's just maniacal vocals on this. But I absolutely love this release. I got this one on eBay. Um, this one and the next one I'm going to show, an eBay seller had some kind of sale going. It was either like buy one get one half off or something, and I saw this on there, so I went ahead and snagged it up. Killer stuff. This was released on Willow Tip, one of the better releases that I've heard on Willow Tip Records. And then we have some older. Well, this is 2004. I think this is when this came out. This is another band out of the UK. This is Gore Rotted with their full length entitled Only Tools and Corpses. I have some Gore Rotted in the collection. I have them under the Gore Rotted moniker, and then they eventually changed their name to The Rotted. I have some of the releases, so I saw this on there. I went ahead and snatched it up. Very good kind of death grind, gory death grind. I mean, you have the Crypt Keeper from Tales of the Crypt doing the intro and outro to the album, so you kind of know that you're getting this horror themed death grind going into this. But it is some pretty solid stuff. I do enjoy this. No reinventing the wheel here. I mean, it's pretty meat and potatoes death grind, but it is a solid release nonetheless. Next up, this is probably the third time that I've had this album in my collection. This is one of those releases that I just kind of fall in and out of love with very easily. Maybe I'll just keep it in my collection now so I won't have to pick it back up later. But even in the small time that I've had this, I've been all about it. And then the next day, I just had to take it out of the CD player because I was over it. This is Necrophagist with Epitaph. Yeah, this is probably of the two full lengths from Necrophagist. This is or Necrophagist, however you want to pronounce it. This is probably the most polarizing out of. Well, they've only got two releases, two full lengths, but out of the two, this is the one that people either seem to really like or really hate, and I'm in that boat on both. It just depends on my mood. There are times that I absolutely love this release, and then there are times that I don't know what it is. I just don't want to listen to it. And it just sometimes it feels like they were just overly technical for the sake of being overly technical, and it gets overly noodly and I can't put my finger on what it is. And then there's times where it just seems like it hits just right. So I mean, even for me, it gives me that multiple personality syndrome where one day I love it and the next day I don't. I guess bipolarism. But I mean, if maybe this time I'll actually keep it in the collection so I don't have to hunt it down. You know, 3 years from now, when I'm in the mood to hear that again. So. The next three releases I picked up, Melanie Loves Death Metal here on YouTube has a distro entitled Born Dead Collection. She threw a sticker in when I placed this order. I found some killer stuff on there already. It's not the first time that I've shown albums that I picked up from her distro, and I've got three death metal offerings here, and they were all like $5 a piece. The first one is a slamming brutal death metal band out of Indonesia. I know you guys can't believe that there is a brutal death metal band in Indonesia, but believe it or not, there are several. This is Ulo. I guess that's how you pronounce that. It's just ULO with 3-2. I know Indonesian brutal death metal bands are a dime a dozen. There are thousands upon thousands of brutal death metal bands, but this one stands out. This one is very good. I enjoyed this. It's just filthy, dirty, heavy stuff. This will drag you down and just suffocate you. The vocals on this are absolutely sick. This is the only full length that this band has put out. It came out in 2021 on Brutal Mind Productions, but this is a killer release. If you haven't checked this out, and you're in the market for some slam or some brutal death metal, got those kind of groovy, slammy parts to this, but I absolutely love this release. Next up, we have a release off of Corpse Gristle. This is the Flesh Grind Demo Days compilation. I had this on tape, but I would much rather have a CD copy of something than just a tape copy, so I went ahead and snagged this one up. Um, Pretty good. I mean, the Seeds of Abysmal Torment will probably always be my favorite flesh flesh grind release, but it's kind of cool to have some of that early demo material and stuff on an actual physical release. I do like it. I mean, is it going to be my go-to flesh grind listen every time I want to hear some flesh grind? Absolutely not. But at the same time, it is what it is, and it's some enjoyable stuff to have in the collection. Speaking of early demos, I also picked up the first. This is kind of the birth of slamming brutal death metal. This is the demo from the original. Well, not the original. It's a repress, but it is the very first demo that the band Devourment ever put out, entitled "Impaled." It was released originally in 1997 on Corpse Gristle Records. This is a recent reissue through Incest. I'm sure Corpse Gristle had a hand in the reissue as well, because it has Corpse Gristle just all over it. I know they were the ones that put the original tape out back in '97, but in my mind, it just has the Corpse Gristle feel to this, even this reissue, this repress release all over it. But I mean, this is fantastic. This is probably my favorite Devourment stuff. I mean, it's only 3 tracks. I think it comes in about 10 minutes, but as I do enjoy just about everything that Devourment has done. But just these 3 tracks, this little EP, I don't know if it's just because it feels this was a band that was very monumental in changing the way certain other bands looked at brutal death metal, and this was just kind of feels like the birthplace of it all on this little EP. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just for that, just for history's sake or what, but I do. This is probably my favorite release altogether from Devourment. And then the next batch of stuff I'm going to show all came from Life After Death Records. This channel is no stranger to showing Life After Death releases. These all came from the distro. They're not all Life After Death label releases. I have another stack of stuff from Life After Death that I want to show. Hopefully before I get moved and all this is broke down, I would like to show it. I want to do at least one more just straightforward collection update. So hopefully I can get that recorded soon. And I don't know where I was going with that. But if you haven't followed Life After Death on social media, definitely do so. You're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing it. Even if you're not going to follow them on social media, follow them on Bandcamp. They are always advertising sales. You get discount codes almost all the time. I think these I got it like 40% off when I purchased them, so it was a no brainer to go pick some of this stuff up. The first thing I picked up was from Archgoat. This is some. I know most of you know who Archgoat are, but just in case you don't, they're just black and death metal out of Argentina. Amazing stuff. I mean, dark, occult, black and death metal. Obviously, I mean, with the you'll see from the artworks and everything, you kind of know what you're getting. This is their second full length, The Light Devouring Darkness. Obviously, this is a fairly recent reissue. It is not the original 1999. I believe this came out originally in '99 pressing, but it's a pretty solid looking digipack. They put a little effort into the actual release of this. The booklet is attached to the actual digipack. I do dig this. This is probably my favorite Arch Goat full length as it is. So when I saw that this was available in that sale, definitely had to go pick it up. Just dark, demonic, evil stuff there. And then going from, uh, I may have said 99 for some reason. Now it feels like 2009 is when that one came out. Either way, we have an album that came out I think last year. It's more of a compilation album of some live performances. You have live performances starting from 1989 to 2015. There's four different kind of concerts or live offerings on this release. Pretty good stuff. The production sound is a little rough just with it being live recordings, but you kind of know what you're getting into. It has 30 years of devil worship on the CD there, so yeah, you know what you're getting with Archgoat. I mean, it's even, but I will say, even with the kind of unpolished sound with some of the live production on this, it sounds great. I mean, for a live, especially like something that came out in 1989, you wouldn't expect it to sound as good now as this does on this CD. So there's definitely that. So good stuff there from Archgoat. Next up, we have some death metal out of Germany. It is death metal out of Germany, but it has a Floridian obituary feel. This is RIP or RIP with their second EP entitled Still Resting. It's 4 tracks. I think it comes in at about 15 minutes. I love this release. They had their first EP. I had it on tape, and I can't remember the name of it now. As good as dead or something like that was the name of the first EP, and I love that one. So when I saw that they had CD copies of the Still Resting available, I had to jump on this. It was one of the driving forces behind me placing this particular order with Life After Death. Killer stuff here. I'm glad that they've been releasing the RIP material through this label. So awesome stuff there. Next up, we have some sci-fi themed, I guess, death metal. This is a band. I think this band's out of Massachusetts here in the U.S. This is also released through the Life After Death label. This is Morgue with Terraformed. It's kind of Starship Troopers themed almost at times in my mind. I guess with the sound clips that are on this, because it feels like I haven't seen that movie in probably 20 years since it came out, but in my mind, the sound clips on this seem to fit the what I remember from that movie, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I guess I should have looked into that to see if that's actually where the some of these sound clips came from, was Starship Troopers. It's kind of grindy death metal, and it has that sci-fi jungle planet. It has like a sci-fi slash jungle planet feel. I mean, there's a track on here called Ambush on the Jungle Planet. So there you go. And then you have War Crimes of the Bio Troopers. So it does. It just feels like a Starship Troopers sci-fi theme going on in this. But it's a solid release. I do enjoy this quite a bit. This could pop back up at the end of the year on my end of the year list because I am enjoying it that much. Next up, we have a full length from a band called Vomit Spell. This is self-titled. I had this on tape. I believe I showed this on tape at some point earlier. Um, it's been quite a while ago now, but I think in one of my earlier life after death videos where I did an unboxing from the distro, they originally released this on LAD through the on cassette format, and when I saw it was on CD format, just like the Flesh Grind, I was like, hey, I want the CD copy of this. The CD was put out on FDA Records. Just killer death metal. This some grindy stuff on this as well. I think I sent that tape in a VCLT. I'm not 100% sure who I ended up sending that to, but I mean I do like tapes, but when I have the choice, first and foremost, I'm always going to go with the compact disc version of something. But good stuff there from Vomit Smell. I do dig that quite a bit. Now we have the one oddball of the video. This is kind of some blackened traditional heavy metal, has some speed metal vibes, some kind of sleazy themes going on, and I absolutely love this. This is Wild Times, and I believe this is just self-titled. I don't see a um, any kind of um, album title or release title. It's just an EP. They have two EPs out, and I think this is the first of their two EPs. But this is fun. This is a fun release. It's just kind of sleazy, blackened heavy metal, and I found myself spinning this more than I probably should have, just because it's just a fun release. You kind of that artwork on the cover of this just fits the music of this absolutely perfect. A lot of times when you see stuff like this, a lot of people's first thoughts go to Midnight, and it's funny because I'm not the biggest Midnight fan, but I love stuff like this, and this fits right into stuff that I love. So I don't know how that works out. I'm just kind of weird, I guess. Next up, we have some black metal. This one caught me off guard with how much I actually like this. The guitar work on this, um, I think, is what sold me on this particular release. But it's just I wasn't really listening to a lot of black metal um, the day that I first checked this out. I think I was in with the stuff that you see that I purchased with this. I was in much more of a death metal kind of mindset, and when this came on, for some reason it just sunk its claws into me and reeled me in. This is Burial Oath with Subjugation of the Bastard Son. This is some more pretty dark stuff. This is very occult, very satanic stuff, but the guitar work on this is absolutely phenomenal. Killer stuff there from Burial Oath. I think they're from Ohio, if I remember correctly. And then the last one that I'm going to show is the 20. I think this EP actually came out this year. This is some more death metal. This is Meat Hook with Manipulating the Human Form. This is some kind of suffocatingly heavy death metal out of Phoenix, Arizona. You can like feel the heat on this. It just feels like a hot, musty, dirty release. I mean, look at that artwork. You definitely have that gore theme stuff going on. It's just 5 tracks on this, but they fly by those 5 tracks. It's not a really super short EP per se, but it just feels like those 5 tracks fly by. On the physical release, they also have their debut full length on this as a bonus entitled Infernal Torture. That's a pretty killer full length. It's kind of neat to see where that band you get where the band started with that full length, and then you have their newest EP all on one release, and it's kind of neat to see just there, the progression that they've gone from that full length. They have other at least one other full length under their belt. I think two other full lengths. So it's kind of neat to see where they started and then hear where they're at now. But this is some nasty stuff. I mean, obviously, just by the look at it, you can tell that it's nasty, kind of lo-fi sounding death metal at times, but it is some killer stuff. I've rambled on enough. My mouth is getting dry, so I will save the next batch for the next video. I'm trying to record some of these ahead of time. That way, while I'm in the process of finishing up the move and stuff, there won't be just a huge delay in content. But that's all I've got for today. I'll have more information on the move and the channel future and all that stuff sometime in the somewhat near future. But that's all I've got for today. New Forsaken Fridays will be up on Friday, and as always, the collection series will continue on Sunday. So stay classy, stay metal, and I will see you guys very soon, I promise.